Eternals is the 26th movie in the MCU franchise. This film is directed by Chloe Zhao. She directed Nomadland. This film has the lowest Rotten Tomatoes rating ever for a MCU film. Is it really that bad? I'm gonna dive into it next, but I want to thank you guys for clicking on this video. If you enjoy all kinds of movie content, consider subscribing to the channel, give the video a like, and maybe comment on what you thought about the film. Did you really like this film, or do you really think that this is the worst MCU movie that has been created? Let's get into the review next. Hello and welcome to Reviews of Ryan. Today I'm going to be talking about Eternals, the newest MCU film. The Eternals, they are a race of beings that lived on Earth and they help shape civilization. The film stars Gemma Chen, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie, Kumail Nanjiani. So going into the Eternals, I wasn't really that invested in the trailer, but I see every Marvel movie, even though I'm not the most Marvel junkie type fan. I like some of their movies, some of them are okay. And going into this, I really wasn't sure what to expect. I really have never heard of the Eternals. I feel like unless you're really an avid comic book fan, you probably wouldn't know what the Eternals are. So going into this, I was interested to at least see what the story would be about, and really interested in the fact that it had the worst rating as an MCU film, because usually they don't get bad ratings. So going into this, I wasn't sure what to expect. Now, when going into this film, I really will say that how the film is shot, I really like how it's shot. I do think that it's not on something like a shot like a Dune. Dune is shot really well. I don't think it's on that level, but it's shot pretty well. I do think some of the problems with this film is some of the editing isn't the best. I think some of the dialogue isn't the best. Some of the jokes are amiss. I think some of the characters, they're not developed the best. I think that a character like Angelina Jolie doesn't really have much to do in this film. I think other characters, they don't have a lot to do in this film, so they're not fully the best characters, but they do what they can, and I don't think all the performances are bad or anything. I think that they do what they can of what they are given. I think Kumail Nanjiani, I think he has one of the best developed characters. I found some of the jokes and stuff that he had was kind of funny, and I really liked that throughout the film. I don't think there is a ton of jokes that I technically laughed at, but there was some things that I did laugh at. I think the whole development of the story for this, for me, it wasn't the best. I do respect the fact that they tried something different and didn't leave it like a normal Marvel formula, because sometimes Marvel falls in that trap where like every movie is like the same kind of formula, and I respect the fact that they did something different. However, it just wasn't something that I necessarily enjoyed that much. I think also for me, there is a lot of jumping back and forth. There is jumping from the past to the present and where they are now in the present, and then there is certain things that are revealed throughout the film with the different characters. And to me, it just wasn't that interesting. I just wasn't really invested in the characters. I honestly felt nothing for these characters. I really didn't have any kind of feelings for these characters. When stuff happened, I was like, oh wow, that happened and this happened, and it just didn't really necessarily get me drawn into these characters. I didn't have any emotions. And the best way for me to kind of describe this film is when you go to a restaurant and you get a meal and you expect it to have some kind of flavor, and it really doesn't have any flavor, and it's just sort of bland. It's not necessarily vanilla like a Black Widow film, but it is not so much on par with a really good story. Like even the wrap up of and the ending of the film, I didn't really feel like a ton happened. I mean, they kind of wrap it up in a way that I don't know how they could do a sequel. So it would be interesting to see what they would do next with these characters. But for me, I wasn't really that invested in the characters in general. So by the time this film ended, I was kind of glad that it was over, to be honest with you. It just didn't really do a whole lot for me. And that's why I'm gonna give this film a 2.5 out of 5. I think it's not the best film for Marvel. I think that they probably could have changed some things about the film and made it a little bit more better. I don't think it's the worst MCU film, but it certainly is not one of my favorites. It will not be a day one purchase for me at all. Probably not even another watch, to be honest. But I appreciate you guys watching this review. Thank you guys, and let me know what you guys think about this film. Did you think that this is the worst MCU film? Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with my review? Do you think that this could have been a better film? What did you guys think? Thank you guys for watching this review, and I'll see you guys in my next review.